In recent videos, I've been talking a lot about quantitative research. In this video, I'll change the focus to different qualitative research approaches. So as a review, qualitative research involves a careful and systematic approach to answering questions about people in a social context. Data is textual. In other words, it is in the form of words that often come from interviews, journals, documents, etc. Qualitative research may involve intensive long-term observation and participation in a real-world setting. It may also involve the detailed recording of what happens in the setting through the use of various documentary techniques. So it can be visual observations, it can be recording audio or video, and it can be, as I said before, it can involve interviews, so actually taking recordings of what people say in the context of an interview. Here is a table that you've already seen in an earlier video showing the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Feel free to pause the video to review these differences. Some advantages of qualitative research. It allows us to understand the meaning of participants' lived experiences, their actions, their events, situations, etc. It allows us to understand the context within which participants act and how it influences their actions. It involves uncovering unexpected phenomena and generating theories that may help explain what influenced these phenomena. It helps us to understand the process by which events and actions take place. It allows us to develop possible causal explanations that merit further research, often through a quantitative approach later on. So these are all advantages that set qualitative research apart from quantitative research. So qualitative designs include ethnography, case study, document/textual analysis, phenomenological studies, historical research, and grounded theory. So I'll be talking about each of those, and I'll also talk about some different ways of collecting data in qualitative studies, which include naturalistic observations and focused interviews. And I should also mention that for each of the different types of qualitative studies, so in this case ethnography, I'll provide an abstract of a study that is of that type, so feel free to pause the video when you see the abstract and read the abstract so you get a little sense of what at least in this case, an ethnography study involves. So ethnography is considered to be the ultimate form of qualitative research. The researcher asks the question, what are the cultural perspectives of a group of people in their natural environment? It typically involves the researcher actually living within that culture for an extended period of time and doing extensive observation, which may include recording observations, so written notes, audio and video recordings. It may involve interviewing participants, and it may involve keeping a written journal or asking participants to keep written journals, which would later be analyzed. Here's an example of a case study. In a case study, a researcher examines in depth a specific individual, group, or situation known as a case. So the fundamental research question for a case study is, what are the characteristics of this individual or group? The researcher attempts to identify the unique characteristics of the case. Again, the person, the group, whatever the case is defined as. And again, like before, a variety of data sources is possible. It might be written observations, audio recordings, video, interviews, journals, etc. So this is an example of a document or textual analysis involving magazines that were published from 2000 to 2007, so feel free to take a look at the abstract. In a document textual analysis, the researcher is going to analyze and interpret recorded material within its own context. So what can be learned from studying these documents about a particular phenomenon? So possible data sources could be public records, birth and death records, newspapers, court records. It could be textbooks, it could be letters, It could be video or audio recordings, diaries, or journals. And as I said in the previous example, it could be something like magazines, posters, things like that. So of primary importance is the authenticity of the documents, making sure that they actually are the documents that were recorded or available at the time. This abstract is about a phenomenological study. Phenomenological studies involve exploring the participants' thoughts and feelings towards a particular lived experience, typically by interviewing the participant. So what does this experience mean to the individual, and how does it affect him or her? This is an abstract about a historical qualitative study. So in historical research, the researcher examines events and their implications on individuals and society in general. So in the example that you just saw, it was about the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013. So what insights or conclusions can be reached about this particular event? And this is an example of a grounded theory study. In a grounded theory study, the researcher aims to develop a theory of social phenomena based on qualitative data. So they're going to use inductive reasoning, bottom-up reasoning. Basically, they're looking at specific data, specific observations, and they're using those observations to derive some more general theory. So naturalistic observations are one mechanism for collecting data in a qualitative study. In this approach, the researcher observes individuals without interfering. So this may involve using hidden cameras, one-way mirrors, going undercover, so just other techniques to try and basically hide themselves or hide the fact that observation is happening. So this approach has some unique ethical issues. Is it okay to observe participants without their consent? The answer is no. It's not okay. It's not ethical. So you have to have participants consent. They have to basically sign a form saying that they understand that they're participating in a study. They understand that they can stop participating in the study at any point. We'll talk more about this when we talk about ethics. So you can use some of these hidden camera type of approaches, but it has to be known by participant that that is happening. Focus interviews involve the researcher asking open-ended questions designed to draw out responses on a particular topic area, allowing subjects to speak freely about the topic. And by doing this sort of unstructured and open-ended format, the researcher should be able to gain in-depth information from participants, enabling them to ask follow-up questions that arise organically. So basically just having a conversation that allows the person to talk at length about a particular topic. These interviews don't have to be in person, they could be over the phone. And as you can imagine, there are definitely certain advantages and disadvantages to interviewing someone in person versus over the phone. So meeting in person might help you to develop some rapport with your participant, might help you to pick up on certain visual cues. Talking on the phone makes maybe scheduling easier, allows you to meet with people who are far away. So you may be able to leverage certain technology like FaceTime, Skype, video chatting, basically to kind of get the best of both worlds. So that is basically it for this video. This has been all about different qualitative research approaches. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a good day.